This video is for instruction for workbook page 9.1, and it's going to be very similar to the instruction for workbook page or worksheet 9.1.1. This is just building a little bit further onto those concepts. So I think I mentioned that for these types of problems, I like to use what I call the find the math fact and add the zeros method. So if you look here, we have 4 times 6 equals 24. I'm sure that's not any challenge at all to you. But then right here we have 4 times 60. So the way that I like to do this is 4 groups of 60. So I like to say, okay, well, 4 times 6 is 24, but this isn't plain old 6, it's 60. So I'm going to add a 0 on there. And if you went over here and you added up 4 groups of 60, 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60, you would see, I'm going to do this the long way. I didn't want to do that because I did not want to mess up my typing here, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to mess up my typing. So we've got 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60, and then we'll draw a line here. And we'll say 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. And then we'll say 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 6 is 24. So our final answer is 240, just like we got up there. I just wanted to show you that it really does work out. So then, if I'm going to delete that just to make this look less clunky. Then if we're going to go to 4 times 600, let's say 4 times 6, that's the math fact, and then we're going to add 2 zeros because we have 4 groups of 600, not just 4 groups of 6. And over here we have 4 times 6,000. So the math fact is 4 times 6, which is 24, 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3. So 24,000. And I think you can notice the pattern here. 24, 240, so 24 with 1 zero. 2,400, so 24 with 2 zeros. 24,000, 24 with 3 zeros. And here we have 1 zero, 2 zeros, 3 zeros. So I want you to notice that pattern. So here we have 7 times 8 equals 56, and then 7 times what equals 560. Well, if 7 times 8 gave us 56, then 7 times 80 is going to give us 560. And here we'll have 7 times 800 will give us 5,600. And here we're going to have 7 times 8,000 will give us 56,000. And again, notice the pattern, 1 0, 1 0, 2 zeros, 2 zeros, 3 zeros, 3 zeros. Here we have blank times 6 equals 54. What times 6 equals 54? I hope you said 9. And then blank times 6 equals 540. I hope you said 90. Blank times 6 equals 5,400. 900. Blank times 6 equals 54,000. 9,000. And again, notice the patterns. All right. Now, the next section of your workbook page is going to ask you, it will say use patterns to do mental math. Well, you can use patterns. You can say, oh, I know 8 times 9 equals 72. So 8 times 900 is going to equal 72 with 2 zeros after it. 2 zeros, because 8 groups of 900 is 7,200. Here we have 6 times 8,000, so we're going to use our mental math or our find the math fact, add the zeros strategy. So 6 times 8 is 48, and then we're going to add our 3 zeros on, and then I'm going to go back and put my comma in the correct place. So that's what it's asking you to do in that middle section. Here's a couple more. 5 times 40, or 5 groups of 40, is going to equal 5 times 4 is 20, and then we're going to add 1 0 onto that. So when the answer of the math fact ends with a 0, you still are going to add that 0, because this is 5 groups of 40 and not simply 5 groups of 4. So don't forget to add that 0, even though 20 ended with a 0. And here we go with 3,000 times 4. So what is the math fact? 3 times 4, which is 12. And then add the 3 zeros. And then go back in there and put your comma in the correct spot. Then you're going to have problems like this, which are problems that I know you can do. Remember, n just means blank. So we have 9 times 80 equals n. So what does it equal? 9 times 8 is 72. Add 1 0. 5 times blank equals 3,000. So we're going to have to ask ourselves, I'm going to take a couple of zeros off here, all right? I'm just going to X them out just for a minute and say, okay, 5 times what will give me 30? It is 6. So I don't have just plain 30 though. I have 3,000. So that means I'm going to have to add 2 zeros here, because these extra zeros that were there, I'm going to put on this number. All right. And let's just check our work. 5 times 6 is 30. And then we add these 2 zeros because we have those in the 600. So if you get to this point, you're like, I'm not sure. Go back and check your work. Start here and check your work. So let's look at this one. 7 times n equals 56,000. Well, I hope this 56 paired with this 7 looks somewhat familiar. For right now, I'm going to cover those zeros. I'm going to pretend like I'm covering them with my finger. You can do that on your worksheet. 7 times what is going to give me 56? 7 times 8. But this has 3 zeros in it, so I'm going to add those 3 zeros. And of course, I'm going to lift up my finger so it's not covering up my zeros anymore. And I'm going to put the correct comma in there. Then let's check our work. 7 times 8 is 56. Add 3 zeros. All right. And our final problem is blank times 4 equals 480. Well, let's take this 0 off and say blank times 4 equals 48. What would go in there? Well, I hope you said 12 will go in there. So 12 times 4 equals 48, but this has 1 0 on it. So I'm going to turn that into 120. And let's check our work again. 12 times 4 is 48. Add 1 0. All right, I hope that's helpful to you. You can watch this video a few times And if you need me, you can come see me during office hours.